look at that. Check that out. Alright, for this next segment, I'm going to dive into my top 10 favorite short films that were shown at the South by Southwest collection. Now, I did watch every single short film that was presented. Many of them were of varying quality, naturally. A lot of them I straight up hated. And I won't be talking about those. Let's try and keep it positive. At number 10, Reminiscences of the Green Revolution. A story of a group of Filipino activists in 2001 told through the lens of a dead narrator. The film is clearly a personal work for the director and writer, and it looks amazing. This is an example of a movie of a short film that I wish was feature length. Unfortunately, it's not. It does go through some weird, hasty pacing, and I wasn't a huge fan of the lead actress, but I think this film has a ton of potential to be a fuller story that can absolutely be fleshed on. And I would love to see more. My number 9 is Face to Face Time, which is a pretty hilarious story of a woman who is trying to get sexy time on with her new boyfriend via webcam, and all of the weird, awkward shenanigans that follow. It's a goofy little story told with an amazing lead actress who also directed and wrote the film. The lead actor, not as captivating, in fact, kind of not great, but the movie has some wonderful dialogue that I really enjoyed, including one line that just had me laughing out loud. It kind of ends a little abruptly. The punchline's not all that great, but for its honesty and for its timeliness, Face to Face Time was one of my favorites. My number 8 pick is Soft, a story of a young gay boy who is torn between finding his first true affection and his abusive martial arts instructor who is preying on both him and his younger brother. The film is a little too short for its own good, but it feels like a great microcosm of a bigger story that I would love to see expanded in a feature film. It looks absolutely spectacular. Both the scene inside of the bathroom with the flickering lights, there's a sense of dread and anxiety that is captured in this film better than almost any other film in the collection. And it's alternated with this beautiful scene outside of the bathroom in the dojo where these two boys have a first encounter of sexual awakening. Again, the movie ends too soon. I think as this film is a bite-sized sample of a much bigger story that needs to be told. As a proof of concept, I'm hooked. I want to see more of this concept. Number 7 is Call Center Blues. Definitely the most ambitious of the documentary shorts in the collection. Call Center Blues is about this group of deported Americans who are now forced to live in Tijuana, where they try to make a living as call center people. The movie has a lot to say about immigration, about deportation, about trying to start a new life. When your old life is forcibly taken away from you, it has a lot to say about our current look at Americans and what it means to be an American and what it means to be a Mexican, and how national identity is intricately tied to each of us, so that when that identity is stripped away, how do you pick up the pieces from that? I think it tries to reach a little too high near the end. It loses its central message a bit, but in terms of sheer ambition, in terms of scope, Call Center Blues can't be topped. My number 6 pick is Betty Saar, Taking Care of Business, an introductory documentary of legendary African-American artist Betty Saar, who is still making work well into her 90s. But it takes a brief look at some of her most famous works when she was the hot art commodity of the 1970s, while also giving us a snapshot into what she's been up to nowadays and how There's no stopping the artistic spirit, no matter how old you are. As an introduction to Betty Saar, who I have never heard of before I watched this film, it does an amazing job. It got me incredibly curious about her. I think the presentation was nice. You got a lot of cool archive footage. It's just really cool to see this woman just keeping on making awesome art well into the later part of her life, and really I saw no signs for slowing down. It's short, sweet, does what it needs to do. It gets you interested in the subject and what's to come. My number 5 pick is Quilt Fever. A lot of people are going to write this off because LOL, white people. What I really liked about Quilt Fever, it's kind of the same, it goes hand in hand with Betty Saar, Taking Care of Business. These are both films that are in love with artistic passion. Betty Saar, Taking Care of Business, is about using found objects and crafting them into sculptures, while Quilt Fever is naturally about quilting. And that sounds like it's a pretty mundane subject, but Quilt Fever presents this art form as something that's almost addictive. The people who quilt for a living are extremely passionate about it. And you get to see real joy when these women who have gone through their own hardships or have their own life stories get rewarded for expressing themselves in a way that just seems right to them. While Quilt Fever kind of starts as a bit gimmicky and cutesy and adorable and woo, these people are really passionate about quilting, it then really punches you right in the heart with just how much this actually means to these people. That this is not something that's taken lightly, that this is a real, genuine passion. And as an artist, how can you complain about that? About people expressing themselves? It's entertaining, it's wholesome, and that's why it's in my top 5. My number 4 pick is Diorama, which is about a woman who works for the public defender's office, spending most of her days investigating grisly murders and suicides and pretty much everything in between. And in her spare time, she expresses herself through diorama models that depict many of these grisly acts of violence that she spots in her day-to-day life. What's interesting about this film is the way it was shot, giving it sort of a miniature-like quality to it. A lot of the exteriors look artificial, even though what you're seeing is obviously real. And it's a really interesting subject too. It's quirky, it's entertaining. You get a real three-dimensional sense of this woman's life, and it's another film that celebrates art in unusual places, much like Quilt Fever or Betty Saar. That seems to be a common theme I've noticed among a lot of these shorts. Is the best ones celebrate either the arts or really dive into untold stories of people who live non-normal lifestyles, whether they be LGBT or, say, exploring interracial stories, just stuff they don't usually see in major productions that get, hefty budgets. My number 3 pick is Dirty, a deeply personal narrative film about two teenage gay boys who have sex for the first time and all of the awkwardness that comes out of it. There's another theme I've noticed among all these shorts is that there seems to be a lot of lifting the stigma on the dirty side of sex. I'm not talking like dirty talk, but the awkwardness and sort of the gross bodily functions that can sometimes happen. And Dirty is about a gay boy who loses his anal virginity and didn't quite prepare himself for it. It is clearly coming from a place of experience, and the filmmaker's introduction clearly spells that out. It's shot intimately, It's never exploitative. It treats this moment as something special, as weird and awkward, and it's beautiful. And it touches on a lot of the same ideas that Soft did, but explores it more completely. I think the two leads had great chemistry. I thought it was well shot. I think the pacing was just right. The filmmaker is trying to say that he's hoping that the film will be there for young gay boys who don't have much access to proper sex education. And for that reason alone, I think Dirty is absolutely worth a look and worth a recommendation, and that's why it's number 3. My number 2 is No Crying at the Dinner Table, another documentary short about a Vietnamese family who are all interviewed by the youngest daughter, who is off screen for most of the film, and chronicles each one's different ways of coping with grief. The filmmaker is using this short as a coping tool for all of them to hopefully come together and express love for each other when they've been putting up walls for who knows how long, whether it's because of culture or because of just being uncomfortable expressing emotions. It's obviously a very personal film. It's a very touching subject. This is the film that won the Grand Jury Award for the Best Documentary Short at the South by Southwest Festival. It uses the power of film as a means of recuperation. And I keep going back to how we can use film as a tool to either help people or help ourselves. In this case, No Crying at the Dinner Table is about helping a family come back together and growing stronger together and loving each other strongly. The presentation is extremely frank. It's cool that this family just completely express themselves so openly. All the emotions are genuine and raw. I think it speaks to everyone who has ever gone through grief and has their own ways of dealing with it, and how sometimes really all you need is just a good long cry and a good long hug, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love the way it looks. I love its very structured camera work. I love that it doesn't try and go for too much cinema verite. I love how personal it gets, both cinematically and through what the subjects are saying. Yeah, that's a solid second place for me, and I totally get why it won the awards that it got. But for my number 1 pick, I am going to go to my favorite genre of all time, which is sci-fi. And the film I'm picking is Vert, starring Shaun of the Dead's Nick Frost and co-starring Nikki Amuka Bird. Vert is... it's like Black Mirror. I'm sorry, I'm rolling my eyes because I'm so tired of all sci-fi being compared to Black Mirror. But in this case, Vert is like Black Mirror, but wholesome. The only issue I had with Vert was how it tries to sell its sci-fi setting by overblowing us with neon lighting. But what I loved about this short film was that it was a film about discovering gender identity, about just true love that ignores physicality. What really sold me on Vert was the ending, which I definitely don't want to give away here, because when this short film does become available for everyone to watch, I'm going to signal boost the hell out of it. This is a film that just felt right watching. Everything about it just worked. I thought the performances were outstanding. I thought Nikki Amuka Bird this is the first time I've ever seen her in anything. She's been mostly doing a lot of character work over the past 20 years or so. And by God, I want to see her in more things. It was great to see Nick Frost pop up again. I've loved him in the Cornetto trilogy and Paul, and just seeing him pop up here was a blast in a role that's right outside of his typical playhouse. I thought the music was really nice. I thought just the acceptance was so welcoming. I was expecting there to be a twist where, oh, it's all not going to work out and there's going to be a sense of uncomfortability, and it doesn't go that direction. It has a genuinely optimistic, positive message, and thank God for that, because I am so tired of science fiction being needlessly nihilistic, that no matter what we do, no matter how much technology we get, technology will bring out the worst in us. And Vert is just trying to say, fuck that. Technology can bring out the best in us too. Yeah, technology can be scary, but it also can be a means for us to better express ourselves. Like, Vert is the best kind of sci-fi because it uses a fantastical situation, but it gives us a window to what could be, that we could be better. This was an episode of Black Mirror. I mean, everyone would have been brain dead by the end of the short film. It's just a beautifully crafted story, brilliantly acted. It's got some great dialogue. I just enjoyed it a lot. I'd love to see more, and I can't recommend it enough. And that's why Vert is my favorite of the shorts that were included in the South by Southwest collection on Amazon Prime. And with that brings us to an end of this episode. Once again, you can follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/ConnorCinema. You can look up my Letterboxd, which is letterboxd.com/CLConnor. I'll be posting links to all the Letterboxd pages for the films and short films that I discussed down below. And once these films become available, I'll be posting them all over social media. I'll be trying to boost these as best as I can, because I think even if a lot of these features and shorts weren't perfect, I think they all had stories that were worth being told. I thought they were told in unique ways, even if they weren't always perfectly executed. Festival like South by, this is where you can get true diversity in film. You can get messages from all walks of life. In this changing landscape of filmmaking that we live in, why not just have a little bit of diversity in the kinds of stories that are told? Not everything has to be good or versus evil. Some stories can be about quilting or finding your true identity with the wonders of technology. I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry if this episode came off as a bit rambly. I'm still trying to find that right balance between scripts or no scripts. I will see you guys soon. I haven't decided what we'll be reviewing next week, but we'll see. I'm sure something will be coming out. I know Scoob is coming out soon, so that might be an option. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy some movies. Bye, everyone.